Hey there, it's 8 p.m. here in the UK and we've been broadcasting from this live stream studio all day. We're pretty tired, we've had an exhausting day, so we thought to ourselves, let's play a game. And that's what we're going to do in this live session. My name's Colin Webster and I'm your host for this session, and joining me is my colleague Emma Fromberg. Hello Emma.
Hi Colin.
Emma, when I said to you let's play a game, you said, let's do spin the bottle.
Spin the bottle?
Yeah, we can't do that on air though. So.
No.
You came up with something different.
Yeah, with an Interacto graphic.
An Interacto graphic.
Yes.
What is an Interacto graphic?
It's almost as fun as spinning the bottle. It is a graphic and it's actually accessible on the diff website. You go to the homepage and then you have immediately an image where you can click on to access this graphic that we see over here. Mm-hmm. And if you go to that graphic, you can click on there and add a comment and also reply to other people their comments.
Great. So it's Interacto in that you interact with online everyone else who's taking part in it. You can start a comment or you can join one that's already been made. To get there, as Emma said, it's on the session page you're watching this on, or it's on the homepage at thinkdiff.co, or open up a new tab, and always open a new tab for this, and go to tinyurl.com/interacto, and you will come to this graphic.
Yeah.
And we're looking for your responses because this session is all about the responses that you put into this graphic, the prompts that we've put there, and we will spin off the back of the replies that we've had.
But we already got a lot of responses already.
We have. And
yeah.
let's set the scene, Emma. First up,
yeah.
The two different statements that go under each heading are based on a card game that you made once upon a time.
Yeah, so together with Delft University of Technology, we developed a card game. And it's based on research about how people understand the circular economy and how they talk about it. It is something that is in a lot of conversations, but sometimes there are still big areas of disagreement in that field. So based on a few topics, we developed this card game and we use that as a basis for this Interacto graphic.
Super. So this is a real activity that one day soon people can download from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation website and they can use in a face-to-face workshop.
Yeah, hopefully within 2 weeks we can publish this on the Ellen MacArthur Foundation website on the resource page.
Great. Well, let's get Interacto.
Yes. So what you see here is you see two statements, and they're like a discussion prompt. Mm-hmm. So they're quite provocative, and you don't have to agree with one specific statement, but they kind of explain a field of discussion that you can go into with other people.
Around the circular economy.
Around the circular economy.
Yeah, perfect. Well, let's get into the exercise in that case.
Statement 1.
Statement number 1. And there's a bunch of statements on here as I quickly scroll down this graphic. But if the viewers at home could stick with us and interact with the graphics that we are talking about at that time, then we'll see the comments come in.
Yes.
And look how the comments come in. They come in as throbbing balls. So put your throbbing balls on our graphic and we will respond to them as soon as we can.
Yeah, so shall we just start with Statement 1?
Statement 1, design from waste. So there's two statements. Number 1 says, designs from waste fit in a circular economy because they slow down the rate of waste creation.
And then on the other side of the spectrum, it says designs from waste. Can you just zoom out a little?
Oh, sorry.
Designs from waste do not fit in a circular economy because they are ultimately downcycled.
So there you go, two provocative statements.
Yes.
And a brilliantly designed bar along the bottom there where people can click either to the left or to the right or more to the centre.
Well done, Colin.
Depending on how closely their view aligns with the statement on the left or the statement on the right.
Yeah, so shall we just first discuss what we mean with designs from waste and then look into, because we already see a few reactions coming in, because with designs from waste, we are referring to, you know, these old buckets that are lamps and, you know, old, you know, like this maybe. This
Good
table
point.
might have been waste and we now use it as a table. It is not designed to fit a system that can, like a circular economy, but it's still using old material that would otherwise be disposed and give it a new purpose. So does it fit in a circular economy or does it not fit? Because ultimately the value of it decreases and it ends up in a landfill or being incinerated.
What way are you leaning? You lean towards the statement on the left or the statement on the right?
Personally, I think that, so yeah, I probably lean a bit more to the right, that they do not fit in a circular economy, because I sometimes feel like these artifacts that are made from waste are often kind of, for the sake of using old, buckets and plastic waste to create something. So often it ends up as like more art kind of design.
I've seen that.
It's not something that you can do on a large scale. So
Right, well, let's look at the comments that have come in. We've got 4 statements here, and if you're watching this at home right now, you want to get involved, tinyurl.com/interacto. Put your response in there. You don't even have to write anything. You just put one of these throbbing balls in scale, and so we know where you stand.
And what do you think about this?
Good question. Well, the nice thing about this exercise is you can argue either way if you really had to. And that's, I mean, it's a great question and 2 statements that one can easily agree with, and it's difficult to make a choice either way. One's tempted to do what Libby's done here and go straight down the middle. Yeah. But come on, Libby, get off the fence.
Come on, Libby, that's a bit easy.
I think I have sympathies on the left, but I'm more aligned to the right.
Well, what is the argument here on the left?
On the left here, right? Yeah. Let's see. Kinga says, in the future, we want to design out waste. In the meantime, we need to do something with the waste we're producing right now and have already produced. I feel we could use design as a method to decrease this amount of waste.
I do agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's a fair statement. We've got to live in the here and now, and we've got to deal with problems that we've created. Totally agree with her. But I'm guessing the 2 statements are based on a mythical future in which we have this brilliant circular economy in which all materials can be used again endlessly at high quality. Yes. Yeah, whereas Kinga's sort of bedding it in the present day.
Yeah, as part of a transition.
Yeah, sure. Let's move over rightwards. So this comment here by Joe. It can be a good place to start our transition strategy and can encourage businesses to invest in reverse logistics or processes that they then can go more circular in the future. Of course, this can be negative too, investing in distractions. Yeah, because maybe instead of designing a really effective system, they get like distracted in creating something from the waste that they have, instead of using it more as a kind of a side project to decrease the amount of waste that you currently have. So yeah. And there's a response to that. From himself. By Joe. Yeah. Joe likes to converse with himself. It's one thing. Also, there are some designs from waste that aren't downcycling, but actually very useful. Cascade, good point, Joe, of different materials. And he thinks his ball's in the wrong place. It's a common problem he has. And then over here on the far right, Joe Isles again. But he's responding to Brian, who says, is it making something that's actually needed or just using waste for the sake of it? Exactly. The art project argument. Yeah. Fair enough, right? You made that point. We've got no live comments coming in there just now, so let's move down to planned obsolescence. And there's a very handy little ball here that tells us what planned obsolescence means. A product that's designed with a limited useful lifespan. There was a planned obsolescence session on the div today. Tell me more, Emma. It was from the Plate conference. That's about product life extension, and it's called Ever Fast, Ever Shorter, Is Planned Obsolescence Real? And one really interesting takeaway from that was that the European Commission refers to planned obsolescence these days as premature obsolescence. And there's much more discussion nowadays going on about managing obsolescence. So if we look at the statements, you can also see that, are we using it like to our advantage, or is it kind of providing products for users that are eventually breaking down too soon and exploiting them in that kind of way? I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, France has a law against planned obsolescence. Yeah. Have you heard this? No. I'm sure it was France. I'm sure it's a law against planned obsolescence. And the person who told me this, it was Kyle Wines from iFixit, was, of course, musing about how on earth they could prove that something was deliberately designed to become obsolete.
Yeah, because of course you are not going to admit that you designed something.
Yeah.
And also if you like, there have been serious conversations with people in businesses, and they also say that they don't intentionally design something that becomes obsolete. But I do think that if you're on a really tight design budget, you need to make compromises on wall thickness or the quality of parts, that you also make the decision to decrease the lifespan. So it's hard to prove, but it's good that they put legislation in place.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
On to the statements.
Yeah.
Statement 1. The consequences of planned obsolescence are restricting for the users, not enabling them to use the product optimally. Therefore, planned obsolescence does not fit in a circular economy.
And then the second one, if planned obsolescence became defined use periods, it empowers companies to keep products in more effective loops in a more manageable way. Therefore, these defined use periods fit in a circular economy.
What's that mean, defined use periods?
It's that you know when it will break down, and that you design it to maybe that something breaks down within 2 years. So you know that it will perform for 2 years, and then you return it and you get a new one. So it's making the lifespan more manageable, and therefore, especially if you combine this with an access model, you can really deliver performance to your user and use it to your advantage. And I think also the first statement really shows how it can negatively affect the user. So what are the people saying online?
Do you want to start left or right?
Should we start right this time?
Start right, yeah. Let's be controversial. Over here, throbbing ball. Joe, look at that. I agree, but companies should be able to show that their products and materials remain as part of some sort of productive cycle. They can't just say, defined use period, and brick your phone after a year.
Fair enough.
Right, so they're getting around any French law, if there indeed is one, against planned obsolescence by saying, defined use period, and it doesn't work. So it's no longer useful, so it doesn't fit within a circular economy. That's Joe's fear.
But that's why I think if you combine this with a performance model, performance business model, you can actually deliver more value than you would otherwise do if you don't have a defined use period.
Okay. Reminder to people at home, please join in the conversation by looking out for the Interacto graphic link on the page you are watching this on, or go to tinyurl.com/Interacto, and you can join in the conversation live as we are speaking. So that's Joe's opinion. We've got one here. It's Libby again. Oh, she's off the fence, Libby. She's moved over to the right. I think this is important in the transition to a circular economy. Any framing that empowers companies to think about use of products in a way that keeps them in circulation longer is a good thing.
But basically, so maybe if you define these use periods and they come back to you and you can repair them, or you can really easily define where they break down, you can keep products, components and materials in circulation longer.
But it has to go hand in hand with a business case for those materials to keep in circulation.
I do believe so.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a good example yet where it doesn't go hand in hand with a really solid business case.
Well, it's either a really solid business case or a very punitive legislative system that punishes companies who let their materials go to waste.
Yeah.
Which in effect creates the business case, I suppose. Over to the left, we have someone in agreement here that restricting for the users planned there we go.
Brian.
But that's great.
Agrees.
That's fine, Brian. Agrees with the statement on the left there.
Great.
Okay.
You can also like his comment if you agree with Brian's agree.
I'm going to.
Are you going to?
Agree. Agreed with that. You know what? I'm going to refresh this page because sometimes this graphic can play around with you a bit and other statements appear.
Do they?
Look, see, Hugo's in there.
Hi, Hugo.
Yeah, thanks for joining in, Hugo. We didn't see your comments coming live, but we got them now because of the old refresh trick. So to force defined use periods on consumers feels restrictive. Surely we need a more flexible approach to accommodate the different desires and wishes of different consumers. What's your thoughts on that, Emma? I'm too busy reading it to understand it.
On consumers, it feels restrictive to him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so
But
this is the
restrictive
classic.
to company or for the user?
I think I'm taking. Well, Hugo does literally say users, doesn't he? So I'm thinking of the classic guitar, the classic car, or something that's precious to you for whatever reason, and we can be quite sentimental about objects and irrational. And if there's a defined use period in something and it has to go back for whatever reason, or it deliberately stops working because the company wants to get those materials back for some reason, then that can be restrictive.
Yeah, but for your fridge, you don't really care, right? Or do you have a bond with your fridge?
Maybe not
Yeah,
most
but
people.
for washing machines or fridges or that kind of stuff, it does make sense. But I think, you also for your stuffed animal, you also don't want a defined use period, right?
Some people will. Emma, come on. Hugo agrees with both statements. Does he? This is where I am at the moment.
Okay.
Okay, Hugo. They're difficult. I mean, they're deliberately provocative statements, and people do find it difficult to stake their case for one and not the other.
But it's also about the discussion around it. It's like it needs to provoke some thinking around it. Like, where do you feel that you agree most with?
Yes.
So hopefully these cards will ultimately be used in like group discussions, and we already tested them multiple times in groups of 6 or 7, also in university classrooms, and that really made people also change their mind, and that's okay. That's all part of having a discussion around these kind of.
And I've tested them once with an audience of about 60 people.
How did that go? With 60 people?
Yeah, we did 2 statements, 2 different, what would you call it, categories or cards that we used. It went really well. Yeah, a real buzz in the room of people discussing them. And then we did a hands up. Who agreed with this one? Who agreed with that one?
Yeah.
Took a few pointers. I think it's a great way.
I didn't know that. So cool.
There you go, under the radar.
Next statement.
Efficiency and effectiveness. So statement 1, a circular economy only means an economy that slows down resource consumption because there's always material leakage.
And the next statement is a circular economy is a regenerative economy that behaves like a forest. To feed itself, it feeds the individual tree, which in turn feeds the forest. This one is also quite tricky, also in discussions. So on the one hand, it says that there is always materials leakage and we're slowing that down. On the other hand, so in the green side of the discussion, you see that that's much more a vision about the circular economy, that it's such a systemic solution that there is zero waste, there's no waste, and it's fully like
everything is healthy. That's the idea, right?
And also that leaky loops argument that that maybe if you don't use your own waste, like it's still nutritious for other players in the system, and that the quality stays high. Where do you, like, I see that there are more reactions on the left side of things. Where would you position yourself, Colin?
That's the right, Emma, over here. Maybe we should write it up on the board. So, with left and right established, yes, there are more agreement on that right-hand side. Well, I mean, the right-hand side is much more poetic. It's a nice metaphor that we all understand, and it's the vision of the circular economy, which I would certainly hope we could one day get to.
Yeah.
So you might be called a dreamer for thinking that, of course. And maybe on the left-hand side, a lot of people would say, well, that's more realistic. There's going to be material leakage, however we try and circularize everything.
Because like the products that we use are not like in a forest. They're technological products, and if I want to recycle the metal of this tablet, then there will be a bit of material that gets lost in that process. So that will, personally, I will lean a bit more to the left side, but I think the system itself needs to be designed to try to behave like a forest, and to try to be as regenerative as possible.
You have to have a lofty goal, or else you'll never get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next
Okay.
statement?
No,
No?
we haven't read the comments.
Oh, comments.
Yeah, there's one over here by Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Yeah, the causality.
Oh, she thinks it's a bit confusing.
Still getting to grips with the circular economy, Monica's saying there. And that's fine. You know, when you do this card activity with people, you need to leave a lot of time so that group can really discuss and
also,
understand.
if you want to learn more about the circular economy, you can also go to the ThinkDiff website, and you can go to the top nav, and you will find a playlist with all circular economy related highlights of the diff, and that's a way to learn more about circular economy.
Indeed it is. Let's have a quick skim through the comments we've got here. There's Kinga. My question here is, how can we shift the thinking of people from an economy where leakage is inevitable to seeing opportunities in reusing everything that passes us?
That's a good question.
It is a good question. She's opening the door, isn't she, to the general public and not just to this idea of a closed loop economy where my materials as company X go around and come back to me as company X. So this is the leaky loops vision that she's talking about, right?
And if anybody online has a reaction to this, you can go to the Interacto graphic and react on Kinga her comment.
Let's see who else is agreeing with Kinga that the statement on the right-hand side is one they're aligning with. Joe Isles does. This is a great idea and an inspirational metaphor to myself and many others. It's what we should aim for, but at the same time, imagining the circular economy as a perfect loop where nothing is ever created or destroyed can be too much for some people. Yeah, but obviously not for our audience tonight. You are in agreement with these statements on the right. Libby, yep, we said that sort of thing already, Libby. Sophie's right into it. How does it tie in with effectiveness of systems, i.e. with the forest being an ecosystem which we try to mimic? And she's, of course, commenting on the fact we've called this efficiency and effectiveness.
Yeah.
So on the left, we're talking about a resource efficient economy, and on the right, we're talking about a resource effective economy.
Yes.
Yeah. And finally, what have we got here?
The dream.
Hugo is wants us to live the dream. Us too, Hugo. Right, okay.
Are we going to refresh it again?
I'm refreshing all the time.
Okay, great.
We are down to our last couple of statements, folks. So if you want to if you want to join in this conversation, please do so. Click on the Interacto graphic and stick your throbbing balls into the boxes.
Come on, Colin.
So, Emma, logistics in a circular economy. Do you want to read out the one on the left? I'm intrigued which one you will read out.
You go.
Okay. I believe that humanity will be able to redesign global logistics in a way that generates much less impact. Or, on the right-hand side, I believe that true answers lie in localizing production and eliminating the increasing need for transportation.
Yeah.
Goodness me, I mean, that's a really challenging pair of statements to align yourself with. On the right-hand side, the idea of localizing everything, which people have talked about for some time, would be a solution to, say, emissions problems. Or on the left-hand side, if we had a much better global logistics solution, there'd be much less impact. I think I read yesterday that 90% of our goods travel on on boats, as cargo ships, I should say, to get to us. So I'm guessing that's number one place to start when it comes to dealing with an emissions problem.
But I think that it's, especially in logistics, there is an element of where we probably need to go towards something that is more local, but we live in this global economy and it's inevitable. We cannot go back to fully local economies, and I think that we need to kind of embrace that these two will coexist. What do you think?
I think they will coexist, and you know, there's been great movements, isn't there, in electrification of vehicles, and one imagines we can get cargo ships moving in that direction too, or better use of renewables in general that can massively reduce the impact that they have and eliminate a lot of those problems. Plus, the localizing solution, that idea that we can produce stuff locally.
You know that somebody quoted you in
Someone
this
quoted
one.
me
Yes.
on one of these.
Yes.
Right,
So,
let's
so
get
you have
there.
more to say about this one. It's on the right side.
Well, because it's about me, let's start over there. Colin Webster.
Oh, and
once
somebody's
said-
agreeing with it. Look at that. Yeah, you can
Right,
see.
how about that? Colin
Did you
Webster
agree with that one?
once told me it's easier to ship recipes than cakes and biscuits. It's a great quote, and maybe it's relevant here. I did quote that once.
Yeah.
Joe obviously wrote it
Where
down.
did you quote it from? Do you remember?
I can't- off the top of my head.
Okay.
I think it just came to me, and I saw Joe write it down, and it stuck with him, and I'm delighted to see it up there. So yeah, that's for me. That's around this idea of localized production, that we can get the recipes or the instructions for how to produce goods sent to us through the internet or accessed through the internet, and we can produce it locally in maker
Sounds
labs.
like 3D printing.
Precisely. I think we've got a 3D printing session tomorrow.
Oh, we have?
Yeah.
What time was it? Do you know?
Don't know. What else does Joe say? On a more serious note, we do live in a globalized economy, but digitization and the internet are unlocking new possibilities. Oh, that's just what I said, Joe. He's forever quoting me. Over here on the left,
Is that you go again?
redesign
Yeah.
logistics.
We have
Right.
a globalized society. There will be severe unintended consequences of reversing this. There are transportation solutions that still support a globalized economy, circular economy transportation solutions he refers to. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I think we need to optimize those long distance logistics. Oh, look at that! Something popping up there.
Hot news just in. Sorry, carry on.
And it should coexist probably with, and we should embrace technology to create local solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't imagine a world that isn't globalized. I think
Yeah,
Hugo's
there's
spot on.
one more popping in there.
Oh my goodness, they're flooding in there. It's like the Trumps in a Concorde. The statements are coming in thick and fast. No name is okay. Well, no name's agreeing with the statement on the right. That's what I understand from that. Hester, we should stop transporting air and water. That's a big waste.
Yeah.
Do we transport air? What's meant by that?
Maybe crisps.
Crisps, bags of crisps. Big packet, but not much content. But transporting water, they're flooding in. But transporting water, there's that great case study, Splosh, we talk about sometimes. I think it's on the Ellen MacArthur Foundation website, where they've eliminated the transportation of water because all you need is a capsule for your cleaning product, and you fill it up at your tap at home. Nice idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another comments come straight in there, right in front of our eyes. Logistics must consider turn products in services, and this will reduce the impact of long distance transportation. I'm not sure what's meant by turn products and services.
Maybe.
Maybe Adrian could reply to that comment and give
Adrian,
us...
can you elaborate on this, please?
That'd be great, Adrian.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, over here, Libby, there she is.
Great. Somebody agrees with her. You can see that over there.
Yeah, I think that was Hugo. It needs to design itself into a globalized world. The circular economy needs to, if we can't tap into global logistics, it will fail as a global movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't picture a world where we're living in just our local communities only influenced by that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes,
Crisps. Yeah, Hester's all about the crisps.
Hester, do you know other examples of where they transport air?
Well,
long
I heard one in this live studio. When was that? It was yesterday. Our colleague Vicky talked about Patagonia, who had this deal where you could send your suitcases back to them, and they would fix them. But then they realized people were transporting air because they were sending empty suitcases back to them. And they said, let's work with iFixit, and we'll teach people how to fix the problem with their suitcase.
Yeah, but they tried that with me once, and then I ended up buying a new suitcase.
Yeah, well, what did they say about a bad workman blaming their tools? Okay.
Next statement.
Adrian's not added any more to that just now, but thanks.
Adrian, if you see this now, just add. We will look at it at the end of the session again.
We shall. And this graphic will stay live for the entirety of the diff. Please keep commenting on it, and we look forward to coming back to it and continuing these conversations. The final statement we're going to look at tonight. The
Access over ownership.
Yes, I was going to say the TV production guys who got in this room are getting a bit tetchy. They want to get home. The EastEnders is on apparently.
Yes, this is a long day today. Yeah. Do you guys watch EastEnders?
So access over ownership. What's this little point I put up here? What's the balance between rights and obligations when it comes to the purchase of access to products? So quickly, Emma, access over ownership. This is the idea that the iPad in your hand, maybe in an access model, you pay some sort of regular fee or a one-off fee, and it's yours for a set period of time, and then it goes back to the retailer or the manufacturer, whoever. You've paid for access to it. It doesn't belong to you. You don't have ownership.
Yes.
That's what we mean by access over ownership.
The ownership remains at the company that you buy the access from.
Yes.
Yeah.
A live comment has come in, and they've placed it quite brilliantly right in the middle.
That's a statement in itself.
Joss, what about the rights of materials?
Interesting.
Yes. Do you think we'll
What
see
do you think, Joss? What about the rights of the materials?
Will we see a demo one day of, I don't know, pieces of gold and fabric walking up and down the streets holding placards, demanding material rights? What's over here?
The owner of what? It's the platform owners that we need to keep an eye on. They are neutral and control how the resources are accessed. Yeah, I actually do.
They do, yeah.
I do. Like Uber is a good example of a big platform that controls a lot of how people use and live from that platform, because all the Uber drivers are using that to generate an income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also like the sharing, bicycle sharing in China. Have you heard about that case study?
Tell me.
So you have bicycle sharing platforms in China, and you access a bicycle. You can find a bicycle really easily on an app, and it's super cheap to access. And you can just access it for one ride, and then you can leave it wherever. You don't have to drop it at a station. And there are so many companies now operating in a similar business model in the same region that they're overflowing the market with bicycles. And there are so many bicycles on the streets that it's actually a huge problem there for like just pedestrians that try to get somewhere because you cannot walk on the pavement anymore.
But tell me, I'm going to stop you there, Emma. I've seen the pictures of floods of bikes left everywhere. Is there some concern about the rights of the user in that model? I don't think there is there? It's just a ridiculous waste of material that these bikes are left somewhere, and seemingly the company behind those bikes can get away with littering or encouraging this littering of bikes in Chinese cities.
Well, try to imagine a world where everything that you use as products is accessed and not owned. Then all these companies have much more control over what they provide you access to. And they have control over all the products in your life. But they can also, especially when they're smart products, they have access to all your data and how you use the product. And if these organizations can communicate with each other through databases and say that you're a bad user,
you can get locked out.
Yeah, then what if you get locked out of the system?
We saw that in Black Mirror, didn't we? That great episode.
That was a good episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. There's been some activity right down the middle. Joss again. Thanks, Joss, for giving us a bit more context here, in the sense that materials are conditional to human existence, and therefore their integrity should be protected for the benefit of future generations.
So this is the intergenerational justice argument.
Yes. As a young person, tell me what that's about.
Well, this is the same as, for example, with air pollution, is that we pollute the air now, and next generations will have access to poor air quality, but they also have less opportunity to pollute. And for some regions, it means like developing the ability to pollute. So that is unfair to next generations. So basically, he's saying that about materials, and it's the same for materials as well.
Yeah, I think it's a nice point by Joss.
Yeah, thank you, Joss.
And I like your argument because we often talk about pollution. Pollution doesn't know about borders, so we pollute here and create acid rain in Scandinavia is the argument we've always had. But this is moving away from geography to time, right? So that we're creating problems for future gens. Let's go right down the middle here. Final few statements we're going to read out before the end of the show.
This is a long statement.
Oh, Sophie,
you were on
how could you? Right, we're going to skip Sophie. I'm sorry, Sophie.
Okay, so I read this one before, and it's more in line of they both matter, right? You know, it's important to make it work for the company. It's important to make it work for the user. And maybe you need to have legislation in place. There needs to be some rules to make sure that one doesn't exploit the other.
Gotcha. Right. Good point. I don't disagree with Sophie. Oh my goodness. Rights of the user. No non-name. Part French, part English. Everyone wants the latest now.
Yeah, so you can upgrade if you have access to products. You also have maybe, you know, you should have the right to have the latest technology in those products. So you can, as a user, you can demand better functioning products than if you would otherwise own it yourself.
But I'm not saying here is why us people wanting the latest now necessarily is a rights of the user argument.
Yeah.
If people want stuff now in block capitals, then perhaps they're willing to give up their rights in order to get the latest now.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a problem.
Maybe it becomes also more accessible if you can also sell all your personal data.
Yeah.
So that the companies can improve the products based on your data.
We've done that online, haven't we? People watching have done that all the time. You click the terms and conditions box and continue.
Yeah, I never read that, do you?
Of course I do. So over here, Libby, you have to make this attractive for the owner first and foremost in order to ensure large-scale uptake.
Exactly.
First priority access models are the rights of the owner.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by owner here? The product owner?
The product owner.
The retailer, manufacturer.
Yeah, the original equipment manufacturer.
The OEM, right, gotcha. Okay, so make it attractive to the OEM so you get large scale up. Yeah, well, of course, because it has to fit with a business model. So I am in agreement with Libby there. Hugo, with rights comes responsibility. He got that from Spider-Man, I think. I think that's what Spider-Man says. Hugo, we know what you've been watching on Netflix. So those are all the comments that have come in.
Can we check if Adrian responded to the...
You know what? His ball would be throbbing if he did, and it isn't. So Adrian hasn't. But
too bad. But keep on replying to each other and keep the discussion going.
Yeah, thanks very much, folks, for taking part in this live and Interacto session at the Disruptive Innovation Festival. We've had a bit of fun looking through some of the comments that are coming in, but of course, the statements up here, the counter statements are part of a workshop that we have put together, an activity that we've provided at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. In order to get your hands on that activity, so you could download it, you could use it in your classroom, your lecture room, or in your workshop. I used it in a presentation I once gave to a bunch of business people. You can go to this link just down here, click on that URL, and it will take you to the page where one day very soon these cards will appear and you can download them for yourself and use them. I highly recommend it because, as you've seen tonight in this very short preview, there's many talking points and it's well worth having these types of discussions. For now though, we're going to say good night. It's nearly 9 o'clock here in the UK and Emma's itching to play Spin the Bottle with me. So I'm going to say goodbye for now and thanks for watching.
Bye.